Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into this video. In this lecture, we will see uh, the semiconductor crystal structure relating with the electrical properties. So before going into this lecture, I would like to request you to subscribe my channel. And here in this lecture, we will see how the electrical properties of semiconductor depend on the crystal structure, atomic bonding, and defects in the semiconductor solid, and as well as impurities in the semiconductor. So, starting with semiconductor crystal structure. So here, in general, if we see silicon, it is a single crystal material. Uh, so we are gonna make it uh, for fabrication. We are going to synthesize it as single crystal material. So the electrical properties of a single crystal material are determined not only by the chemical position but also by the arrangement of atoms in the solid. So how these atoms are arranged in the solid, that is also going to affect the electrical properties. Now, so this is about single crystal silicon. And if we take binary compounds like gallium arsenide, in which it is made up of both gallium and arsenide, that is, gallium is a third group element and arsenide is a fifth group element. So it is a compound one of the common compound semiconductor, and so it is also a very important semiconductor material as it has good optical properties. So it is very useful in optical devices mainly, whereas silicon is useful in uh, you- though it is useful in optical and also uh, other devices like BJT, FET, etc. And and it is also used in specialized applications in which, for example, high speed is required, and it is a direct band gap semiconductor material. And similarly, we have ternary compound semiconductors like three elements like aluminum, gallium, arsenic. So here in which subscript X indicates the fraction of lower atomic number element component, and this is also a semiconductor. So this will give very unique semiconductor properties, like based on the value of X, that is which determines the composition, and that will help us to tune the band gap. So so the advantage of a single crystal material is that in general its electrical properties are superior to those of a non-single crystal material like polycrystalline. Why? Because in polycrystalline we have grain boundaries that will tend to degrade electrical properties in case of polycrystalline or amorphous material. So single crystal material is mostly preferable for devices. But in some special cases with materials like let's say binary compounds or ternary compounds, it is very difficult to achieve monocrystalline. So there we are going to use polycrystalline. Now, by knowing the crystal structure of a material and its lattice dimensions, so here crystal structure could be like uh, diamond lattice, and the lattice dimensions, that is which represent the distance between the two atoms. So the distance between the two atoms is going to determine several characteristics of the crystal, like volume density. So there is one thing like volume density, which is ratio of atoms per unit cell to the volume of unit cell. So that will determine how tightly packed atoms are in the material. Now, semiconductor devices are fabricated at or near a surface. Like so, so the surface properties may influence the device characteristics. That is, the properties which are on the surface of the material that will determine influence the device characteristics, because we are going to deposit layer over the layer that is on the surface. We are going to deposit upper layer on the surface of the lower layer. So surface properties will influence the device characteristics. Now some characteristics of the crystal are the distance between nearest equivalent parallel planes. So we have in the crystal we have planes. So how what is the distance between the nearest equivalent planes? That is one characteristic, and the other one is surface concentration of atoms, number of atoms per square centimeter. So that is the area of the surface, how much number of atoms are present in the surface. So that will also um, influence the electrical properties. And surface density of atoms, this would be important, for example, in determining how another material will fit on the surface. Like in the device we are going to use different layers, so each layer could be of different material. So when we are supposed to put another type of material, so the surface density of atoms would be important for determining how it will fit on the surface of the lower layer. And so surface of density of atoms, it is a function of the particular crystal plane, that is each in the lattice. That is if we take two different planes, then the surface density of atoms of each plane could be different. Hence, so the planes are very important for determining the surface density. And here it is given the formula: surface density is equal to number of atoms as represents number of atoms per lattice plane by area of that respective lattice plane. So here that corresponding lattice plane we have to consider to calculate surface density. Now tetrahedral structure is the building block of diamond lattice. So we have different uh, crystal structures. One is cubic crystal structure, body centered, face centered, and so for semiconductors, most common uh, crystal is diamond lattice. And in diamond lattice, tetrahedral structure is the building block. So diamond lattice consists of tetrahedrons of this sort, which are building blocks. So different tetrahedral structures combinedly make the diamond lattice. So here this is important for us. Now we have one atom in the middle and it is bonded to four other atoms. Suppose you may assume that this atom is in the middle of a room, in your room, and these are four different corners, um, like opposite diagonals. So you may visualize that this is bonded to these four atoms. Now, the important characteristics of the diamond lattice is that any atom within the diamond structure will have four nearest neighboring atoms. So each atom is bonded to four, and again this is bonded to another four, and this one is similarly bonded to another four, that we can see in the diamond lattice structure. And so the next uh, crystal structure is zinc blende. So there is not much difference between zinc blende and diamond. The difference is that there are two different types of atoms in zinc blende structure. So here in diamond lattice, suppose for a silicon, we have all silicon atoms only, the diamond lattice. But in zinc blende or fullerite structure, we have two different types of atoms. Like suppose gallium arsenide. Gallium arsenide, we have gallium and arsenide, two different atoms, so it has zinc blende structure. Now the important feature of both the diamond and zinc blende is that the atoms are joined together to form a tetrahedron. So diamond and zinc blende structure is same, but the only difference is the atoms. So now here we can see the basic tetrahedral structure of a gallium arsenic, in which each gallium is uh, so here each gallium has four nearest arsenic neighbors and each arsenic has four nearest gallium neighbors. So here this this one byte one represent the gallium. Now the black ones are arsenic. So gallium is bonded to four arsenic atoms which are in black. And now in this tetrahedron the black is gallium as usual, and this uh, this black is arsenic and it is bonded to four gallium atoms. So here gallium is bonded to four arsenic, and this arsenic is bonded to four galliums. So similarly, likewise, again this gallium will bonded to four other arsenic, and here this arsenic will bond to four other galliums likewise. Now let us see the atomic bonding, how the atomic bonding affects the electrical properties. Now the fundamental law of nature is that the total energy of system in thermal equilibrium tends to reach a minimum value. So the interaction that occurs between atoms to form a solid and to reach the minimum total energy depends on the type of atoms or atoms involved. So in a crystal we have atoms, and they tend to come together to form the solid. So they come in such a way that the total energy will reach a minimum value, and so how the minimum total energy will depend on the type of atoms. So it will vary from silicon to germanium, or gallium arsenide to another compound material like cadmium telluride. This variation would occur based on the total minimum total energy, and the type of bond or interaction between atoms then depends on the particular atom or atoms in the crystal. So then when the solid like silicon, if we take, the type of bond that exists between the two atoms or interaction between the two atoms depends on the particular atoms. That is, in silicon, its bonds and interaction depends on the silicon, and for germanium, it differs the interaction between atoms. Now, the interaction between atoms can be described by quantum mechanics. So, for analyzing the small particles, we have to use quantum mechanics. Hence, the interaction between atoms can be described by quantum mechanics. The elements in group 1 of the periodic table, like just an example of how a solid is formed. For example, the group 1 of the periodic table, they tend to lose one electron and become positively charged, while the elements in group 7, they tend to gain an electron and become negatively charged. So after that, they will become ions. These oppositely charged ions then experience a Coulomb attraction, and they form a bond, and this is referred as ionic bond. So if the ions were to get too close, means if the ions were too close, then there will be a repulsive force which would become dominant. And if they are far, then attraction will be there. But at equilibrium distance, both forces will be equal. So that is where they will have minimum energy. Similarly, that is ionic bond, but we have covalent bond in which electrons are shared to attain low valence energy. And in semiconductors, most of the in semiconductors the bonding is covalent bonding, and atomic bonding and crystal structures are directly related. So here we have covalent bonding. This and the crystal structure are directly related. So as we have seen semiconductor materials like silicon, germanium, they have covalent bonding, and that is, and they also have diamond crystal structure, diamond lattice. So we may understand that both are directly related. And in conductors, we see metallic bonding, where the valence electron can also interact and continue to form a bond. So, for example, a solid sodium has a body-centered cubic structure. So, each atom has 8 nearest neighbors, with each atom sharing many valence electrons. So, we may think of positive metallic ions being surrounded by the sea of negative electrons. So, in metallic bonding, uh, the free electrons doesn't belong to a particular atom. So, they uh, means the free electron from an atom, once it is separated from the atom, it, it travels throughout the solid. So it doesn't belong to a particular atom, but the number of negative electrons will be is equal to positive metallic ions charge. So in that way it is charge neutral, and this solid being held by the electrostatic forces between the positive metallic ions and the negative electrons. Now we have defects in the solids. These defects are going to affect the electrical properties, and any real crystal, the lattice is not perfect but contains imperfections or defects. That is, the perfect geometry is disrupted in some manner. So these imperfections will tend to alter the electrical properties of material, and in some cases the electrical parameters can be dominated by these effects, defects or impurities. And one type of imperfection that all crystals have in common is atomic thermal vibration. That is, whenever due to the um, due to the energy possessed by having temperature, be it in a room temperature, the atoms tend to vibrate. So this is one defect, because this random thermal motion will cause the distance between atoms to randomly fluctuate. So the distance between atoms are randomly fluctuating, hence it is disrupting the perfect geometric arrangement of atoms, and this imperfection called lattice vibration affects some of the electrical parameters. Now another type of defect is a point defect. There are several of this type. Like here there is a vacancy, that is an atom is missing from the regular lattice site. So it is expected to have an atom here, but it is missing. So this is a vacancy. And the next kind of is an atom may be located between lattice sites. So between the regular lattice pattern, one extra atom is present. This is interstitial. So here you may see uh, these two are, because of the presence of this interstitial, the lattice lining is shifted in this manner because of the interaction between these two. So here you see the regular arrangement of atoms, and here also you see regular pattern of atoms, but because of this interstitial here, it's deflected in this way to the regular. So this interstitial, thus creating an interaction with surrounding atoms, will alter the electrical properties. Now with these defects, the ideal chemical bonding between atoms is disrupted, which tends to change the electrical properties of the material. Now, a vacancy and interstitial may be in close enough proximity to exhibit an interaction between 2 point defects. So, more often there will be a defect like interstitial and point defect nearby. Suppose here we have seen two defects. In the third category, more often that will happen, that is interstitial, and suppose for a defect here, this atom might miss. So the pair of this is called Frenkel defect. Uh, this is more um, common and produces different effects than the simple vacancy or interstitial. So this Frenkel defect will might produce different effects than a simple vacancy or a interstitial. Next we have the line defects. Now a line defect occurs when an entire row of atoms is missing from its normal lattice sides. So we have lat, lattice sides here, and in the middle we missing the uh, entire row of atoms, and this is line dislocation. And this dislocation can also alter the electrical properties of material, usually in a more unpredictable manner than the simple point defects, because uh, in point defects only one atom is missing, but here entire row of atoms is missing. So this will give more unpredictable behavior than a simple point defect. And now let's see the effect of impurities on the electrical properties. So impurities are nothing but foreign atoms or impurity atoms. Suppose in a silicon solid, we are supposed to we expect only silicon atoms. But if any impurity atoms like phosphorus or any unwanted another organic compounds, then that will affect the electrical behavior, which is not desirable. So the foreign atoms or impurity atoms may present in the crystal lattice, and impurity atoms may be located at normal lattice sites. So whichever is a uh, normal lattice site, that we may get impurities. So that is substitutional impurities. And also impurity atoms may also located between normal sites, in which case they are interstitial impurities. So here in the normal lattice site we have another atom, that is substitutional impurity. Here the same the another impurity atom is present between the regular lattice sites. So here we have two types of impurities: substitutional impurity and interstitial impurity. So some impurities such as oxygen in silicon tend to be essentially inert. That is, it inert in the sense it doesn't react. And however, another impurities such as gold or phosphorus in silicon, because gold or phosphorus they are not stable, so they may easily give away the electrons, and can drastically alter the electrical properties of the material. Now, but in some cases, impurities are essential in semiconductors. That is, we call by intentionally we are putting impurity atoms. That is doping. So by adding controlled amounts of particular impurity atoms, the electrical characteristics of the semiconductor material can be favorably altered. And this technique of adding impurity atoms to a semiconductor material in order to change its conductivity, it is called doping. And so with this, I would like to end the lecture. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe my channel, and we will see the next part of this in the next lecture. Thank you so much.